My name is Kaylee Messer, and this is Camp Rogers, and we're going to be discussing physician-assisted suicide. In your own words, can you explain what physician-assisted suicide is?
Physician-assisted suicide is when a patient deems that they feel that their life is just in so much pain or that they're terminally ill, and they feel that the only way to not be in pain anymore is to end their life peacefully and to have the meaning behind it, that they can live their life, such as other cases that we have learned about in the past few years, and some states that have allowed this.
How do you think physician-assisted suicide could be a problem?
I think it could be a problem because many people morally don't support people that believe that this is acceptable and that it's peaceful. I think just because somebody's moral beliefs, it shouldn't dictate whether you want to do physician-assisted suicide, because you're not in their shoes. You don't step in, you don't understand what's going on in their situation. You need to know what their life is about, and there needs to be a consult, there needs to be a meeting, there should be a criteria. There should be many different ways to understand each situation, because each situation is going to be different.
Do you believe physician-assisted suicide should be illegal, and why or why not?
It should be illegal. It should be legal, excuse me. It should be legal because certain people are going through such terrible situations and so much pain that I think in the long run, people are in so much pain, and to watch them suffer throughout that whole process, and to watch them, battle if it's cancer for a couple years, you don't understand what they're going through, and you don't understand the pain that they can't fight it no more, and all they're doing is suffering. So if they could go out peacefully, if they could say their goodbyes, you don't, especially with cancer, you could wake up the next day and they're not there, or any other diseases that could be fighting. So wouldn't it be perfect if they could go peacefully and you could say your goodbyes and everybody knew exactly how you felt. A lot of times when people pass away, especially at funerals, you don't get to say your goodbyes. Even sometimes, especially older generations, they don't always get to say their goodbyes because they might not be able to be at their funeral because of their health as well. I think if they know when the person's going to pass away and they know when the person's ready, they can say their goodbyes, and I think this will allow for that.
Okay. Ethically speaking, what is your argument for or against physician-assisted suicide?
My argument for it would be, why don't you put yourself in those shoes, somebody else's shoes, because it's not fair for you to judge somebody based on your opinion. It should be up to that person, and there should be criteria for it, because you don't know if somebody's depressed or bipolar. Everybody has a different situation, everybody has a different health history, and it should be evaluated. Not just, even family should have a say-so, I think, in parts of it. Doctors should have a say-so, because we need to get a feel for who are these people that are hurting and how can we help them. And I think the best way to help them might be this route, but there could be other routes. People that are terminally ill, you never know if it's something, what if it's something that could kill them in 5 years? Is it fair to go ahead and end their life now if they're not suffering? If their pains are 2 or 3, why is it fair for them to go ahead and end their life? I think in cases like that, then the answer would be no. But in certain cases, if somebody is in so much pain, yeah, they might have 5 years of their life, but what is their quality of life? I think quality of life is something that should be considered. Somebody's quality of life dictates if they should have physician-assisted suicide, in my opinion.
Are you familiar with the Brittany Maynard case? And if so, can you explain what you know about it?
Brittany Maynard, from what I understand, I have learned about this from a couple of my college classes that I took at FSU. I learned that Brittany Maynard had a brain tumor, and she knew that she only had a couple years left, and she didn't know when she was going to suffer, but when she knew that she was going to suffer, she wanted her family to be around her. She wanted to end peacefully her life, and she wanted everybody to know how she felt. And yes, she was young, but I think she had a good impact on this world. That, sometimes I think a lot of people are selfish. And what I mean by that is, I think so many people are selfish because they don't understand what people are going through. just because your moral beliefs or a conviction that you have, it's not fair to somebody that don't believe that certain way. I shouldn't judge somebody for the way that they believe. And if they want to die peacefully, then I think that should be up to them. Like I said, under certain criteria, of course, and every situation should depend on the doctors and the family, as we talked about.
Do you believe nurses should have the option to refuse assisting with physician-assisted suicide?
I do agree that they should have the option, and in other cases, morally and ethically speaking, it's just not fair for somebody that is not in their shoes for me to judge them. If they have a strong belief in something, then they shouldn't take part in that. That's not only fair to the nurse, but that could be the lack of the care by the nurse. For example, if you have a nurse that is assisting a physician in suicide, she might not be the best nurse she can be because she is not all there. In other words, she's not committing 100%. She is not putting all of her energy and time into that situation. And I think that's appropriate for every nurse and every doctor to be the best for their patients.
Okay. If you're a physician, how would you approach this topic with a patient?
If I was a physician, I would handle it carefully, because I think every person emotionally, I don't know their health history, so I think every patient would be different depending on who I have. I would know my patient very well, and I would handle it based on my patient's needs and wants.
Do you think family should be present during a patient receiving medication to end his or her life?
I think family should be present, because at the end, I think it's having that comfort. It's having that way of saying, I'm saying my goodbyes and this is the end, but I want you to remember me, the person I was. I don't want you to remember the person that was suffering. My quality of life was good. I lived the best life that I could have. I didn't struggle. I didn't suffer. I gave it everything that I had. And I think a lot of people don't understand that when somebody is battling cancer, and a lot of people might not watch this, but when people suffer, it is hard to watch. You don't remember that person who they were, but you just watch them suffer and you feel bad for them. But I think part of the people that do physician-assisted suicide want peace. They want people to comfort them and to understand that, it's okay, that death is a part of life, and that it's something that we have to accept. Not only will this help the person that's going through it, but it'll help the people around them. It's an easier way for them to accept death, and they know it's coming. And once it gets there, it is a hard situation to accept, but I feel it'd be easier for the family.
What criteria do you think should be met before physician-assisted suicide is a solution for a patient?
I think there's some of the criteria that has to be met is their health history. Are they depressed? Are they not? Do they suffer long term? Are we talking short term? How long is this going to affect? And doctors and family can help decide. But most importantly, I think the patient has to be able to decide what they want and what they feel is best for them.
Do you think there's a certain culture that is more sensitive to physician-assisted suicide?
I think, especially living around here in the South, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, we're around many conservatives, and many people live in the old ways, and they're not open-minded. I think we have to be more open-minded of the world and of people's moral beliefs. If somebody is suffering, we shouldn't let that person suffer. How's that fair to them? And I'm not saying that every case we should have a suicide or a physician-assisted suicide, but I feel that people should be allowed to, if they want to, and they meet the criteria, they should be allowed to be out of pain, not suffering anymore.
Okay. Who do you think should be held responsible for the end result of this issue?
I think this is something that doctors and the government should discuss, because they make our laws. Congress has to pass these laws, but they have to understand that if they have ever been in a situation like this, to watch somebody suffer, it's brutal to watch this carry out for years, because people's quality of life it's very hard to watch, and people don't go through this, and a lot of people don't even watch this happen. They just assume, this is the way it is, but it's not the way it is. You need to be open to the idea of new things, and I think a lot of people are so set in old ways that they're not even open to it.
Okay. What impact do you think technology will have on physician-assisted suicide in the future?
I think physician-assisted suicide with technology will allow people to understand that there might be new ways for us to adapt and to survive longer, and there might be cures for cancer, and there might be ways to limit the suffering, especially if somebody is terminally ill. There might be ways to help somebody that is struggling or going through the struggle to not as hurt as bad, and maybe we could not end people's lives, but we could reduce the suffering that they have to go through, and we can help their quality of life. We might not be able to end the result at the end of the day, but we can give them a better quality of life with new technology.
How do you think you would react if a loved one told you of his or her plan to end life with physician-assisted suicide?
The first thing it would depend on the person, and it would depend on the situation. If I felt that their quality of life could be good throughout the years that they suffered, and how much they're suffering, it would depend as well. It would take each situation, and it would, depending on the person, it would be different.
If you discovered you were terminally ill, would you want physician-assisted suicide to be an option for you?
There's two qualifications that I feel that are most important is how long would I have to live according to the doctors, and my quality of life. I think quality of life is the most important thing in here. Am I suffering? Is it something that I could fight through and I could still have a few good years with my family, my wife, with my kids, so they knew who I am? Or is it something where they just watch me every day in and out? Am I suffering? Can you sit there and just watch your family suffer like that? It's very hard, and I wouldn't want to put my family through that. So I think, like I said, different qualifications meet those standards.
Okay. Well, thank you. I believe that concludes our interview.